The Vatican's so-called trial of the century is finally nearing an end. 10 defendants are on trial, charged with several crimes, including embezzling Vatican funds and money laundering in the purchase of an expensive investment property in London between 2014 and 2018. The most high profile is Cardinal Angelo Becciu, the Vatican's former Deputy Secretary of State. The trial marks the first time in history a cardinal has been tried by lay judges in the Vatican's court. The financial scandal has been in the headlines for years. After a 2-year Vatican investigation of alleged financial malfeasance, court proceedings have stretched more than 2 years. The Vatican maintains that the €350 million investment deal was designed to defraud the Secretariat of State of millions of euros. The defendants have been adamant their actions were above board and that Vatican authorities were in the know. In hearings last week, defense attorneys attacked the prosecution on largely procedural grounds, calling for a mistrial. They said the investigation was biased, chaotic, and had ulterior interests designed to protect higher-level Vatican officials. EWTN News Vatican analyst Andrea Gargladucci has been following the recent developments in the trial and says key defense arguments will be made next week for Becciu, following last week's defense for the Vatican's Financial Intelligence Authority.
The next important hearing will be November 22nd, when the lawyers of Cardinal Becciu will speak. And so these are the two keys, in my view, Financial Intelligence Authority and Cardinal Becciu, for two main reasons. Because the Financial Intelligence Authority worked along the Secretariat of State in order also to fix the investments and to help the Holy See to recover money, or to recover an investment that was a good investment, in my view, but was poorly managed.
Becciu has always denied all wrongdoing, claiming the investment, which eventually lost €100 million for the Vatican, was managed by his successor, Archbishop Edgar Peña Parra. But prosecutors say Becciu is liable because he approved the initial investment, its financing, and used unconventional accounting procedure to conceal the multi-million-euro real estate deal. The Vatican court president said the last week of hearings will be held in mid-December and a verdict will be reached by Christmas. Benjamin Crockett, EWTN News in Depth.
To discuss the latest on the Becciu trial, we're joined by Hannah Brockhaus. She's the senior Rome correspondent for the Catholic News Agency. Hannah, it's so great to have you back. There's been a recent flurry of activity and hearings in this case. The defense seems to be fighting back on procedural grounds. What can you tell us about that and if they're actually getting into the merits of this case?
Yeah, that's right, Montse. So after a brief summer break, they've gotten back into hearings, and it seems an earlier promise to have a conclusion to this case by the end of the year has really pushed them to really consolidate a little bit and encourage the defense attorneys that are kind of having their moment to defend their clients to really address the issues quickly and on a tight timeline so that we can have a result, a verdict before Christmas. So what we're hearing a lot from defense lawyers is a lot of objections, like you said, on procedural grounds. They are entering a little bit into the merits of the case and trying to show how their clients were acting completely, of course, above board, that their actions were all perfectly legal and done with the agreement of people inside the Vatican. But also a lot of time has been spent on exactly criticizing the way the investigation has taken place, the way the case now in court has been laid out, and even as much as the ways that Pope Francis himself has stepped in have come under criticism. Some of the changes to the way the court proceeds has been criticized as well.
Well, that's significant when we look back, but Cardinal Becciu's defense attorneys are front and center next week. What do you expect to happen?
Well, so next week is when exactly Becciu's lawyer will have his chance in court to defend the cardinal. So we're waiting to hear what he'll have to say. Obviously, the cardinal earlier in the trial himself stood and gave some speeches before the court where he defended himself, but he didn't always enter into all of the merits of the case. No, he didn't enter into all the details. And so we're obviously looking for a strong defense from Becciu's lawyers to show that he isn't guilty of the crimes that he's been accused of.
Now, Hannah, the church around the world has been watching this carefully. We're all looking for that transparency that Pope Francis has promised on the financials in the church, in the Vatican. Do you think that all of the attention on alleged financial malfeasance in this case has made a difference in the way various Vatican offices conduct their businesses? Do your sources and your reporting tell you anything new?
Well, I think it will be interesting to see exactly what happens following this trial, because obviously what happens with the verdict, whether Becciu is found guilty or not of any of the many charges against him, I think that could then have a ripple effect. But honestly, during this trial, which has been obviously, years long now, I wouldn't say we've seen as many changes. There were some changes in the Vatican before that, during the investigation and when all of that scandal and financial scandal was coming out. In the interim, I think things have been a little bit on hold. So I'm waiting to see what that verdict does, if that spurs more changes or if we're a little bit at a standstill at this point.
Well, we'll be watching next week very carefully and looking forward to a decision over Christmas. Thank you so much, Hannah.
You're welcome.